All right, guys, welcome to Unit 11, Quiz 1 Study Guide. I'm going through the even ones, and there's some odds for extra practice with answers included if you like. All right, so here we go. Find the exact value of each trigonometric function using the unit circles. So you're going to need your unit circles for this, or you want to have them memorized. Now, for these types of questions, you may be dealing with radians or degrees. In either event, we need to make sure that the angles are either between 0 and 360, or if we're dealing with radians, 0 and 2 pi. Okay, so negative doesn't work. So we need to take this negative 8 pi over 3, and we need to add 2 pi to it. Okay, and if that's still not enough to get us between 0 and 2 pi, then we have to do it again. So we need a common denominator. So that gives me negative 8 pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 3, which is negative 2 pi over 3. So I'm still not out of the negatives. I need to do it again. So I need to add 2 pi again. Now, I'm just going to add this because I already know I'm going to need that common denominator anyway, because 6 pi over 3 is 2 pi. It just has a denominator of 3. And now we can go ahead and add, and we get 4 pi over 3. As soon as you end up with a number that's actually on your unit circle, then you're prepared to begin the rest of the process. So this angle that we have here, 4 pi over 3, that should give us the same answer as the negative 8 pi over 3 because they are coterminal angles. So cosecant of negative 8 pi over 3 should be the same thing as cosecant of the one we just found by adding 2 pi twice, 4 pi over 3. Now, how do we find cosecant? Well, we need to remember that cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So we need to take the reciprocal of this value. So since cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, and sine equals y, then we need to find the y value at this point on our unit circle and take the reciprocal of it. So the y value at that point on the unit circle is radical 2 over 2. But once again, we're taking the reciprocal of that, so that would be 2 over radical 2. And we don't like having square roots on the bottom, so we're going to rationalize. And these go away, and our final answer would be radical 2. That one was pretty intense, but there it is. So what did I do? I made sure that my angle was between 0 and 2 pi. And then I remember that cosecant is the reciprocal of the y value at that point. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at our next question here, number 4. We have another radian question here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So once again, we're going to need to get this to be between 0 and 2 pi. And we're going to get there by adding 2 pi repeatedly until we get to a number that's actually on our unit circle. All right. So we need a common denominator here. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 6. Okay, I don't think that gets me there yet. That only gets me to negative 13 pi over 6. So I need to do it again. I'm going to add 2 pi again, which I already know is going to be 12 pi over 6. I'm going to get a common denominator. That still doesn't get me there. Now I have negative 1 pi over 6. I'm getting closer, but we're going to have to do it one more time. So now I've got negative 1 pi over 6, and I need to add another 2 pi to it, which is 12 pi over 6. And that gives me 11 pi over 6. And now I've finally gotten to a number that is on my unit circle. So we're looking for 11 pi over 6 on the unit circle. And so at 11 pi over 6, we have the coordinates radical 3 over 2 and negative half. Now we're looking for cosine of negative 25 pi over 6, which we already said that's going to be the same thing as cosine as 11 pi over 6 because those are coterminal angles. And cosine is the x value, which is radical 3 over 2. So there's our final answer there. go ahead and take a look at yet another one, number 6. Pi over 3. Now, pi over 3 is already on the unit circle, so I don't have to add any 2 pi to it or anything like that. So let's go ahead and begin. So the coordinates for pi over 3, well, we really don't care about that when it comes to tangent. For tangent, we're just going to look at our tangent unit circle. And if you look at that, you'll find out that the tangent value is radical 3. So we're done with that. So you would look at your tangent unit circle, you would look for where pi over 3 is at, and you would find the tangent value that goes with it, which is radical 3. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 8. This one says use a calculator to find this value and round your answer to the nearest 10,000th. Okay. Now, the issue with these types of problems is usually, like if I gave you like sine of 795, you would just type that in your calculator and you'd be all done. You do want to make sure in this case that your calculator is set to degrees and not radians. But there's an extra problem here. It's that we don't have a secant button on our calculator. So what do we do about that? Well, we have to remember that secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it like this. So I'm going to take the reciprocal of cosine, and that's the same thing as secant. Okay, and that's what I'm going to be typing into my calculator. So I'm going to do 1 divided by cosine of 795. All right, so I need to make sure that I am in degrees. So different calculators work differently here, so got to find that button though. I see that I'm in radians, so that would give me a wrong answer. So I need to change that to degrees. So let me get out of there. And I'm going to type in 1 divided by cosine of 795, and that's degrees, of course. And so there's my answer. 3.864 would be the answer. Move on to our next one. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our next one here, cotangent of 30. So we don't have a cotangent on our calculator, so once again we're going to have to do the reciprocal of tangent in order to get the cotangent value. So let's do that. Once again, you want to make sure your calculator is set to degrees, but I've already done that. And there we go. So there's our answer to that one, 1.732 approximately. Let's go ahead and move back to our next question. Number 12, cosecant. Cosecant, once again, we don't have that button on our calculator, but no need to fear. We can just take the reciprocal of sine, which gives us the same thing. So the point that you want to memorize here is the fact that secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and tangent is the reciprocal, or cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, and cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. I forgot the angle because I was talking too much. Negative 243. So negative 243. And we get 1.122. All right, let's move on to our next question. Number 14. This one says find the coordinates on the unit circle for the given angle using a calculator. Okay, so to find the coordinates on the unit circle, the x value is going to be equal to cosine of 751 degrees, and the y value is going to be equal to sine of 751 degrees. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and punch those values into our calculator here and see what we get. So I'm going to do cosine of 751, enter, and sine of 751, enter. And those are the coordinates. And so if I wanted to write that as an ordered pair, I would say for my x value is the cosine value, which is 0.857, and my y value is the sine value, which is 0.515. And so that would be the ordered pair for that particular angle on the unit circle. And we're going to repeat that process here again for number 16. But the difference is that we have to remember that we're working with radians, and therefore we're going to have to change our calculator into radians in order to get this. So we're going to find sine of 19 pi over 4 and cosine of 19 pi over 4. The cosine will give us the x value, and the sine will give us the y value. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So let's change it to radians first. I'm going to go to my way of doing it. Once again, your calculator may be different, but you do need to somehow get it transferred over into radians. All right, so we're going to do sine of 9 pi over 4. That's the y value. And then we're going to do cosine of the same. Oh, looks like they're the same exact number there, actually. And so we have an ordered pair of 0.707 and 0.707. And that would be the answer to number 16. Remember to watch whether your calculator is in degrees or radians for each question that you're in. All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 18. Now the question is different here. This one says solve the equation using the unit circle. So we want to use a calculator. If I say use the unit circle, then you should be using your unit circle. If I say use the calculator, then you're going to be using the calculator. Okay, so for this one, no calculator. We're just going to use the unit circle. So when it comes to secant, cosecant, or cotangent, the first thing we're going to do is take the reciprocal on both sides. And the reciprocal of secant is cosine. Okay, and so we need to rationalize this by multiplying the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. That gives me 3 square root of 3 over 2 times 3. The 3's cancel, which is radical 3 over 2. And so I'm looking for where does cosine equal radical 3 over 2. Now if you look at your unit circle, there are 2 places where cosine equals radical 3 over 2. One is here, and one is here. And those answers in degrees, and I can tell we're doing degrees because it says 0 to 360. The answer to that one in degrees is 30 degrees and also 330 degrees. And those are the answers there. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at another one here, number 20. This one I don't have to do any flipping or reciprocals because it's already something I like. If we have sine, cosine, or tangent, we don't need to do any reciprocals. We like those ones. Now cosine of theta is equal to negative radical 3 over 2 on this side and there. So those angles are 150 degrees and 210 degrees. So that would be our answer for that one. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 22. Where does cosine equal a half? Remember that cosine is the x value, right? So if you're wondering how I'm finding those, it's the x value. So where is cosine of theta equal to a negative half? Well, that would be in 2 spots, here and here. And why are they there? Because this is negative 1/2, comma, radical 3 over 2. And the x value is negative half, so that's a cosine. And so we have our 2 answers there, and there's another one down here. Those angles are 120 degrees. And then down here, what would that one be? I think it's 240 degrees. And there you have it. All right, let's look at number 24. Another cosine. These are all cosines. It's kind of silly. It's an awful lot of those. All right, let's do it. Number 24, we're looking for where cosine is equal to radical 2 over 2. That happens in 2 places, here and here. In those locations, the cosine value, in other words, the x value, is negative radical 2 over 2. And those angles are 135 degrees and 225 degrees. And so those would be your answers there. But notice that it says from 0 to 2 pi. So that means that on this actual question, your multiple choice test, you're going to find that those answers are in radians instead. So even though those are right, we want to put them in radians. And so the radian for that one is 3 pi over 4. And the radian for this one down here is 5 pi over 4. Okay, so those would actually be the answers on the exam. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at 26. solve each equation. And on this one, we're going to be doing that using a calculator, and we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So this is a problem where you can't look at the unit circle because we don't have this number on the unit circle. So we have to actually just use a calculator to do it. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to get theta by itself by doing the arc of that particular trig function, like so. And so that is definitely a calculator situation there. So let's go ahead and do the arc cosine. And were we using degrees or radians there? Let's go back and take a look. Looks like they want the answer in degrees. So I want to make sure that my calculator is in degrees for this particular problem. All right, so we're going to do arc cosine of 0.29, I think is what it was. Just double check here real quick. Yep. And then we're going to push enter. And there it is. So 73 degrees. And we're just going to round it to the nearest degree. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find out where that is located on the unit circle. Where is 73 degrees? 73 degrees would be like somewhere up here approximately. Now cosine always has its matching pair directly on the bottom underneath of the point. So it would be somewhere down here. So we have one answer here, which is 73 degrees. And then we have another answer here. And we need to figure out what that one is. It's this red angle here. So what is that? So we need to do a couple of calculations here to get it. So first of all, we know that from here to here is 90. Well, actually, we could probably just do 180 to keep it simpler. So from here to here is 180. And then from here to here is 90. And then this is where we're going to run into a little work that we have to do. We don't know what this is. Okay, now because of the symmetry, we know that if this is 73, then this angle here is 73. So we need to figure out what this missing piece is. And as we've talked about many times already, this angle here all the way across is 90 degrees. So 73 plus what equals 90? Well, we can solve that by simply subtracting. And so the missing piece would have to be 17. Okay, so let me clean up my math here. And I'm going to put 17 here. So we see that this green portion here is 180. We see that the pink region there is 90. And we see that this orangish region here is 17. Okay, and so to get that full angle there, we're going to add all those up. So 180, 90, and 17. I should have put it there, but oh well. 17, 18, 1, 287. So that's 287 degrees. So we have two answers. The first one is the one that the calculator gives us, and the second one is the one that we had to find out using the symmetry of the unit circle. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 28. All right, so it's another one of these types of questions. Once again, we're going to do degrees only. But this time the difference is that it's one of the weird ones, one of the ones we don't have on our calculator. So what we have to do when we're trying to solve these is we need to take the reciprocal on both sides. So the reciprocal of secant is cosine, and the reciprocal of negative 1.86 is 1 over negative 1.86. And we're going to have to use our calculator for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that first. There's that. And now the next thing that we want to do is we want to solve for cosine now. So cosine is now equal to negative 0.538. We need to arc cosine both sides. Okay, so that's what I'm going to type into my calculator there. So let's go ahead and do that. So second, there's my arc, negative 0.53, and I'm going to round it to 8 and enter. and I get 122.5. So I'm just going to round this to 123 degrees. So my first answer that I get is approximately 123 degrees. Now it does say round to the nearest hundredth. I'm going to go ahead and not do that, just because I don't want to make this more complicated. And working with decimals, I want to stick with whole numbers here. So now we're going to draw our unit circles. We're going to sketch that angle. 123 degrees would be somewhere like right about there. And when it comes to cosine, the symmetrical matching answer would be directly below that. Okay, and so our goal here is to find out what the other angle is. That is the angle that starts here and lands at that second spot. Okay, so we already know that this much of it is 180. So we need to figure out what this missing piece is. Okay, well, this missing piece here is the same thing as this missing piece here because of the symmetry. So if we find one, we find the other one. Well, I know that from here to here is 123. And if I were to add to that the rest of my angle, so 123 plus that mystery piece, that would get me all the way over here, which is 180. And so I'm just going to go ahead and subtract it. And I'm going to end up with the following. And I get 57 there. So if that's 57, so is this. And we're ready to begin. Now I don't really need to write this 57 here. All I need to know is that from here to here is 180. And now I also know that from here to here is 57. And I can find my total angle, which is 123 plus 57, which is, that doesn't seem right. Oh, I goofed up. Sorry about that. It's not 123. My pink portion here, from here to here is 180, plus my green portion down there, which is 57. So 237 is the other angle. And there's that. All right. So I'm going to do another one here. This one is a sine. So for this one, we're going to arc sine both sides to get the theta by itself. So let's go ahead and do that on our calculator here. Arc sine of 0.99. And we're still doing degrees, by the way. So I'm just going to round this to 82 degrees. So let's do that. Okay. Then we're going to graph that angle. 82 would be like somewhere up here. Now sine has its matching angle not going in a downward direction like cosine and secant, but actually going horizontally to the left. So that's where the matching angle for sine will be. Okay, so we know that from here to here is 82 degrees, and now our goal is to find this other missing angle that goes all the way to there. Okay, so how do we find that angle? Well, we're going to need to find this missing piece here, and that will be the same thing as this missing piece here, and then we can add everything all up. Okay, so this missing piece, we'll call it x. If I were to add that to the 82, should make 90. So if I minus the 82 on both sides, I'm going to get my answer for x, and it turns out that x would be 8. So this is an 8-degree angle, which means that this is an 8-degree angle. And so we just need to add all these pieces up now. We have 82 plus 8 plus 8. So what would all that equal? Let's see. It's 98 degrees. And so the other angle would be 98 degrees. So my two answers are 82 and 98 degrees. All right, let's do one more. Let's do a cosecant. Now cosecant is not a button on our calculator, so the first thing we need to do is take the reciprocal on both sides in order to find the answer. The reciprocal of 2.11 is 1 over 2.11, and the reciprocal of cosecant is sine. And then we're going to arc sine both sides. So let's go ahead and go to our calculators here and see what we get. So arc sine of 1 over 2.11 is 28 degrees approximately. All right, so we're going to go ahead and sketch that angle. 28 degrees would be like right about here. Sine, to find the angle that goes with it, the other answer, it's always going to be directly across going to the left. So the other one would be over here. So we know that this is 28 degrees, and if that's 28 degrees, then so is this. And we need to figure out what the big angle is, starting from here, going all the way to over here. All right, so we need to find the missing piece here. What would that be? Well, I know that 28 plus this missing piece should make 90. And it turns out that's 62 degrees. So now I'm ready to find my total. I know that from here to here is 90. And I know now that from here to here is 62. So we have 90. Oops, wrong pin. We have 90 plus 62 is 152. So the other angle is 152 degrees. All right, and so that does it. That's the kind of stuff you can expect to see on your quiz. We'll see you guys then. Have a good evening.